The Beretta 92 FS. Quite a classic. Very nostalgic for people like myself. Grew up seeing Die Hard, Lethal Weapon and stuff. Just saw this pistol perform. And that didn't really encourage me, one way or the other. But when I got to experience this in the military, I kind of wrote it off. And then I started getting experience behind it in the civilian sector and kind of fell in love with it. So that's kind of my history with it. It was first introduced to me in movies when I was a kid, and then I got experience with it in the military, and I was surrounded by people that talked trash about it, and I got out. I had no real interest right away, and then I just got one because I was like, whatever, I guess I'll finally give it a shot, and it's probably going to fail, whatever, and then I can dump on it. Well, it did not, and it actually performed very well. And I started exploring it. I did the 96A1, the 92A1, the 92FS, and I've tried out the M9A1, the regular M9, and I can't really say that I have disliked any particular version, but I really enjoyed the M9A3 with its smaller grip, but I always would go back to the 92FS because it just felt more nostalgic and classic, and it felt like the original ass kicker. You had the 226 come around the same time, and they're relatively neck and neck, but based on the reports of the tests of the originals, the 92F and the SIG 226, the SIG 226 outlasted this pistol by a little bit, but relatively they were neck and neck. But overall, I haven't seen the 226 actually be more reliable. I've actually found it to be the opposite. I had a 226 before I even owned one of these, and I broke the firing pin within the first week of dry firing. And I found it to be very finicky. You always had to replace the roll pins with, any part that you replaced. Like, you needed a complete change of springs after a certain amount of rounds. And they just highly recommended that. Were they going to supply them? Nope, because SIG wants a little bit of money out of it. But that's fine. I mean, it just feels like a good old boys club at this point. But that's why I don't really own any SIGs. So, anyways, when I got into Berettas, I haven't had really any issues. The first pistol to give me issues? This one. Real issues? No, not really. Number one, when I first got this, it was the tightest pistol I had ever owned, where I actually needed a tool to undo the takedown lever, and I actually have a little bit of a mark here. This is actually the police special, by the way. So this came with 3 magazines, 3 15-round magazines, and it was really tight. The recoil spring was incredibly tight. The magazine release was very tight. Every spring was just ridiculous. The trigger, I was like, oh my god, I'm going to have to get the D spring just to be able to get an accurate shot on target. I had to get it out to the range. I had to get that vibration to actually do some of the wearing in for me. But no matter what lubricant I would use during the dry fire buildup that I usually do with new pistols, it was just so tight. I wasn't able to actually get it to loosen up. I had to get like 500 to 750 rounds through it before it actually was able to be taken down incredibly easy. So nowadays, it's just a standard 92. It's very easy to take down. So there's no issues whatsoever anymore as far as that's concerned. But when I first got it, terrible. Also, I broke the firing pin after the first couple months, and granted, I was doing a lot of dry fire. This is my beater gun. This is the thing that I treat like crap. So for the first time, I broke a Beretta 92 firing pin, or Beretta 90 series firing pin. And I had one on hand because, I dry fire a lot of pistols, and I always try to have a firing pin on hand if I can get one. And this one, I had a firing pin, so it didn't interrupt me. The only way I found out that I had the broken firing pin is I switched this out with the decocker only lever for $55. I tried the regular safety system. I just wasn't really into it. I wasn't able to perform very well and reliably with gloved hands. So I kind of tossed that, and I was like, you know what, this is good the way it is. Just decocker only. So I'm not gonna stick with the safety decocker. It's just not working for all the different purposes that I wanted to use this pistol for. It's primarily a training gun, and it's a gun that I like to take people out to shoot with and get them acquainted to the principles of shooting a pistol. And this is a great pistol to do that with. It's very easy on the recoil. It may have a fatter grip, but the trigger work, the way you work the trigger, it's very nice. And people can understand the double action a lot easier with this pistol than with, other pistols that I have. Like a USP or the A-Rex, the Rex 01 or whatever. This is a very gentle double action. So that's the purpose that I have this pistol for, or that's the purpose that it currently fits into right now. So I don't feel like I'm undergunned with this because it can't have a red dot on it. I honestly have the best red dot I can. Blacked out rear and a fluorescent pink front sight. Very easy to acquire under any environment and lighting condition for the most part, unless it's pitch black. And if I need a light, I have another hand for that. I know a lot of people are like, well, you don't always have a hand for it. Well, if you need the light on the gun, it's because you're shooting. So, maybe you don't need to be dinking around with other things while you're shooting. So, yeah, with that said, I don't really feel like I'm underarmed, not having, a light on this gun. You can actually get the grip panels that actually you attach, and it holds on to like the trigger guard, and it actually provides a rail all the way here. It's pretty classic, but it's actually a pretty inexpensive way to get a light on here. Now, another reason you might want to consider this firearm is everything is available on the market. Parts are cheap for this pistol since the military's not, using them anymore for the most part. Police departments are still using these. Sometimes you will find them on the surplus market as law enforcement trade-ins. I wish I would have gotten one because I think these things are so sexy when they're worn. Love this little bit of wear, by the way. I'm trying to get this thing worn. I treat it like absolute crap. I throw it around, but this Brunington finish is a little too tough. It's not getting all ugly in the grip. No matter how much I pick it up and, use it, it's really not losing much of its finish. But holsters, you can get like a military, like a Safariland holster for really cheap. I believe I got one for I got an Epic holster for like $20. And that's a level 3 holster for this pistol, and it's a Black Hawk Epic. So, you have the top part that you have to push in, you have to hit it with your thumb here, and then you have to hit your trigger finger right here to release the gun and be able to pull it out. Despite what people say about Serpas being so unreliable and so scary because one dumbass shot himself, I don't see that. I have never had that experience, and I've never seen it really be a problem. That sounds like somebody trying to stage their finger like as fast as possible because they had no discipline and they had poor training. And so, you can give somebody really good quote-unquote training at a class, but it doesn't mean that people are going to pay attention to it. So just because somebody's been to a certain place for training does not mean that, they're actually trained and they're actually proficient. So anyways, that's my little rant on gear. So with that said, I'm a fan of this pistol still. It's my original ass kicker, and it's just a joy to play with. It is a smooth operating firearm, low on recoil, very easy to shoot well. That longer sight radius and the smaller sights allow very good precision. The beefy grip is kind of off-putting a little bit. One thing I would like to do in the future, get this textured across, kind of like the M9A1. I think that would change it a little bit. But with all that said, even though I had the M9A3 where it was flat all the way, I still went back to this because it's my original ass kicker. Alright, let me know what you think in the comments below, guys.